everyone, it's Cass. Welcome back to my channel, What Cass Read. Today we're going to do some winter book recommendations. I've seen a lot of these winter book recommendations float around right before the holidays, so maybe to give you some Christmas gift ideas, maybe to give you some books to get you in the Christmas mood and the Christmas spirit. I know for a lot of you out there, winter is still going to go on through January, through February, maybe trickle into March, and you need some winter reads to kind of get you through those dark, dreary winter months, and I've got some recommendations for you. When I think about winter reading, I really like to get into some historical fiction. And so I've got two historical fiction recommendations to make first, and the first one is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is one of the most beautiful books that I've ever read. Legitimately, I sobbed, like I wept for the last 100 pages. It wasn't just like a single tear. The last 100 pages were a constant flow of tears. So this story follows two young children in World War II. The first child that we follow is Marie Laurie. She is a young girl, probably like middle grade, and she's blind. She grew up blind. Her father is this wonderful locksmith, and he creates all these different puzzles for her and just like creates a really tactile experience for her. And one of the things he does is he's created little lock boxes. He's created actually a physical replica of the town that she lives in, so that way she can navigate her way through the town and she knows exactly where she is at any given time. She grows up in Paris, but then, as we all know, Nazis come in and take over Paris. And so her and her father have to flee the city. They wind up in this French coastal town. So there's her storyline that we're following. And then we follow young Werner, who is an orphan, where him and his sister are growing up in Nazi-held Germany. And he actually is recruited as a young boy into Hitler's youth. He's a very bright kid. He loves mechanics, he loves radios, and so that's kind of his special skill that gets him along Hitler's youth and then later on as a soldier in Nazi Germany. And the story is just so beautiful. It cuts back and forth between the two, and you're not quite sure how these two storylines will intersect, but eventually they do, and it's a very, very beautiful, moving story. So I really love reading some historical fiction in the wintertime, and this is going to be one of my top recommendations for some historical fiction fans. So this is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. My next historical fiction recommendation is always going to be among my top book recommendations. This is The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. I really like reading Ken Follett in the wintertime because his books are massive. So The Pillars of the Earth follows a number of different people. We have Philip, who is a priest of Knightsbridge, this town. There is Tom Builder, who is an architect, and then there's Lady Elena, who is a young blossoming woman in the community. So this takes place in the 12th century. It tells the story of this dream of building this cathedral of Knightsbridge. They were trying to transform Knightsbridge into this beautiful centralized community with the talk of the town's cathedral. So it sounds really simple, but I am telling you, these characters are what really drive the story forward. They're the ones who just keep you so invested. I've talked about this before. If someone was falling in love in this book, I was falling in love. If someone died in this book, I was upset, like physically upset about deaths in this book. Ken Follett is one of my top recommendations of all time. So if you're looking for a really good historical fiction read, I always recommend Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. The next book that I would like to recommend, this is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I read this back in college, so I love this one for a winter read. I mean, people can read it in the fall time to get prepared for Halloween, but I wouldn't classify this as a Halloween book. So, as I'm sure plenty of you know, this follows the story of Dr. Frankenstein, and he is creating his own life form. This piece is very scientific at points. This piece deals with a lot of questions about creation and man versus nature. Then this also thrusts you into the viewpoint of Frankenstein's monster, and you get just kind of the questions of how do we belong and where do we belong, and if you don't have anyone to belong to, are you really human? So if you have yet to pick something up like this, if you have yet to pick up any pieces of classical literature and you're looking for something to kind of test the waters and test out, I would recommend Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. My next book recommendation is from the fantasy genre, which is my favorite genre of all time, adult fantasy. I have chosen The Rose and the Thorn by Michael J. Sullivan. This is book number 2 in the Rhyuria Chronicles. If you're looking for a quick fantasy read, any of the Rhyuria Chronicles books, which follows Royce and Hadrian, a Rhyuria thief duo, sort of along their adventures before they even get to the Rhyuria Revelations plot. This is kind of like the prequel series of some of the different adventures that they get into, and any one of these books in the Rhyuria Chronicles can be read as a standalone. This one is my favorite out of all of them. So this is just a really quick fantasy read. If you're looking for something that's going to begin quickly and end quickly, and it's not going to be like a gigantic drawn out fantasy series, but you would still like to read some fantasy in the wintertime, I'm going to recommend The Rose and the Thorn by Michael J. Sullivan. And then my final winter book recommendation. So I work for a university. I work with college students. I know what it's like for them when they get all done with finals. Like, they don't even want to think about like a book like Frankenstein. They don't want to try and read a book as big as Ken Follett's Pillars of the Earth. And sometimes when you're on break, when you're in the middle of the winter time, you just need to read some trash. You just need a little trashy read just to kind of break the cycle of all the organic chem that they're studying or all the papers that they're writing, and you need something that you can read it and then forget it. And for that book, I have The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. So this is a contemporary adult thriller. It's a very quick pace read. It follows our younger woman protagonist, Rachel. She commutes on the train to and from work, and she sees this couple in their house, and she kind of daydreams about them. She kind of daydreams about their life, and she's kind of projected these thoughts onto this couple that she sees just in passing when she's on the train. But then she witnesses a crime happening to this couple, and things take off from there. So it's a very quick read. It's a little bit trashy. Sometimes that's what you need to get you through the winter time. So I have The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Okay, everyone, so those were some of my 5 winter book recommendations. Now that we are past the Christmas holidays and we're still trying to chug through those winter months, maybe it's still a little bit cold where you are living, or maybe it's just starting to feel like winter where I'm living. But either way, I hope you enjoyed those picks, and if you have any other winter recommendations that are not Christmassy, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. You can follow me on all of my social media if you would like to stay in contact. So I'm on Instagram and Twitter at WhatCassRead, the same as this channel, so it's super easy to find. And I'm also on Goodreads, and if you're not like into other social media platforms. Otherwise, you guys know how these videos end. I'll talk to you later. Bye.